talk about checks that much, but that's that one vulnerable time. I'm always trying to get the guys and stay engaged in the guy. Once you get his hand off, don't drive his hip and push him away, because all he's going to do is step away, get his hand back on the stick, and then attack you again. So once you get into that hit, just keep driving them wide, and don't let him get that bottom hand back on the stick. One thing I also want to talk about that might be a little more tough to practice is off-ball defense. Something that is great if you're working in small groups. This is a great time to practice off-ball D, and what I always tell my guys is, head on a swivel, and then if your hips are either facing the guy with the ball or your man, you're wrong. Your hips always have to be sideways. So if I'm covering, if I'm watching the wall has the ball and this is the man I'm covering, if my hips are facing this way, I'm wrong. If my hips are facing this way, I'm wrong. They're sideways like this, I'm in between everything, now head's on a swivel, I can see everything. All right, so you always want your hips open, seeing everything. Once I do this, I have no idea what that guy's gonna do. Even the guy on the crease, that might be your slide man, your hot guy, right? If I'm the hot guy, here's the goal, and I'm facing the guy I'm going to slide to, I don't know what he's doing behind me. I can't communicate with my defense behind me. I can't get on my two slide. And if he just takes a little step to the right, all of a sudden he's open. I had no idea what he did. But if I turn this way now, I'm sliding here. Here's the guy I'm covering. If he takes a step to the right, I take a step to the right. I still have my angle to slide, and I see the entire defense behind me. I'm pulling my two slide down. I'm telling him to get the third slide after that. I'm communicating with everybody. But once I do this, I don't know what's going on behind me. If I do this, I don't know when I need to slide. So I always have my guys head on a swivel, 1-to-1, 2-to-1, whatever you want to do, 2 seconds to the ball, 1 to your guy. I just want them constantly going back and forth and seeing everything. So keep their head on a swivel and never let them have their hips facing either the man they're covering or the guy with the ball. Another thing about off-ball defense is you don't want your body in the skip lane or the passing lane, only your stick. For a long pole, the most impossible thing in the world to catch is a ball that goes directly over your head. You can't knock that down, you can't catch that pass from a long pole. So that's only going to happen if your body's in that lane. Instead, if here's the skip lane, here's that passing lane right here, I'm right-handed and I'm open seeing it, I'm going to take a step like this and have my stick up right there in that lane. Now it's a lot easier for me to check that pass. And the other great thing about that, if I'm here, obviously very difficult for me to knock that pass down when it's going directly over my head. Another great thing about this is 4-on-3s, 5-on-4s, man down, it shortens all the slides. All right, because now the guy doesn't feel he has to run all the way to the man that's in the rotation the next slide. All he has to do is run to where he can get his stick in the lane. That's one less step for him. All the slides shorten a little bit. But another way, a drill that I use in smaller groups to actually practice knocking down those passes, I stick a man on the crease. I get an offensive guy. This is good for offensive guys too. It's a feeding and shooting drill. We have an ex-attackman. He carries the ball. He's just going to run back and forth behind the goal. All right? And then I have a defenseman on the crease, and then I have a midi above the goal. I give him cones probably 10 yards apart. Say he has to stay inside those cones, but I want him working back and forth to try to get open for a pass. Then I have my defensive guy on the crease, and what he has to do the whole time is find that skip lane. So now an attackman's dodging behind the goal. He's looking, he's finding that skip lane. He's seeing the guy behind him. He's getting his stick into that lane, and then I'm having them try to skip that pass through right over his head and for a shot. So now you get your attackman running back and forth behind the goal feeding. You have a midi working, or a creased attackman working off ball, and you have a defenseman who's moving back and forth to get his stick in the lane, and now he's getting the opportunity to actually try to knock that pass down too. Because they can get their stick in the lane, but it doesn't mean they're always going to knock it down, especially at the younger level, right? It's something that needs to be practiced a little bit more, right? That's off-ball D is the biggest thing that a lot of defensive guys have trouble with. Everyone can be a good on-ball defenseman, but it takes a lot more patience and a lot more practice off-ball. So you got to make sure that you're giving them that opportunity to try to knock those passes down, because that's a skill that's learned. It's not just going to naturally happen unless you have a kid with great hand-eye coordination. So that's a good drill because you get offensive feeding, you get shooting, and you get off-ball defense. So I like to use, if I have a group of 3 or 4, I like to use that a lot.
And put a short stick defender on the kid behind feeding, because what they'll tend to do is stand still because nobody's playing. And then they'll say, oh, I'm a great feeder from back here now. We'll put a kid there playing him and do it with a short stick. It's going to let him get the feed off, and he's gonna get natural tendency of stepping back to feed and getting his hands free. So that's, I don't mean to interrupt or jump in here all the time, Matt, but if I think of something, and 10 minutes from now, I'm gonna forget it. So that's why I'm just jumping in. The other thing, he mentioned communication to you. You know, we all say how important, we all know how important it is. I have never met a player yet who can communicate if he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And 90% of defensemen never talk because they have no idea what the hell your team defense is even about. They have no idea. All they know is I'm going to kill this kid with the ball. And the rest of the time, so you go, well, how come you don't communicate? You know, it's real easy. He doesn't know. So you got to keep going with your guys and saying, explain to me, show me what I'm talking about. Go up on the board or do all kind of things like that. You know, to find out if they really do know what the heck you're talking about. Especially at the youngest level, at youth guys. You guys, I mean, you're like the reading teachers, you know? There's no kid in the world that's ever going to be good at English or social studies unless he can read. The reading teacher who teaches them, and there's no kid who really knows all this stuff about defense or offense unless you guys start to give it to them at an early age. So there's a lot of pressure on your guys' backs too. I'm sorry.
Next, I want to talk about stick work and ground balls for defensemen. And the one thing I always tell my guys is you could be the greatest defenseman in the world. You can take the ball away from your man every single time. If you can't pick up that ground ball and clear it and get it to your offense, you are worthless because you're just going to keep playing defense. So as much as you work on your on-ball D, your off-ball D, you got to put at least that amount of time into stick work and practicing picking up ground balls. Right? So that's one of my huge things. And as a lacrosse player, I don't think I'm the greatest, defenseman in the world, but I think one of my specialties is getting the ground ball and getting the ball to the offense. That's kind of my niche and where I found a role on the teams that I've played for. So you got to be able to get the ball to the offense. And one thing that it's not the most conventional thing in the world, but I like to practice with my defensemen keeping your stick low to the ground all the time. So after picking up a ground ball, if you're in a group of people, you pick up a ground ball, I know we always teach bring your stick to your face, right? That's great for short sticks that they can protect their stick with their helmet. That doesn't do anything for a long pull. You bring your stick to your face in a group of people, they're just going to check all that pull that's hanging out. So what I like to do, I have my guys working on picking up that ground ball and at least keeping your stick low for a step or two before you get out of that group of people, right? So some people walk the dog, bowl of soup, whatever you want to call it. I love picking up the ground ball, bowl of soup, run away, walk the dog until I'm away from everybody, then I put two hands on my stick, and then I throw that pass. So with the ground balls, feet never stop moving, all right? You see it all the time. Youth level, high school, and it becomes that beehive. It's the person that runs through the ball, runs through the group that picks it up. You see the better athlete kid, the kid that gets it a little bit more, he's always the one coming away with the ball. It's not, some miracle. The kids that pick it up and don't stop, and they stop their feet, and they try to bring their stick to their face, and it just gets checked right back down into this beehive, all right? The guy who picks it up and keeps running through that pile, he's the one coming away with it. So one thing that I like to do, I'll line up my defenseman, and I'll stand facing him. Everyone rolls the ball out and picks it up. But sometimes in games, the ball, you see it a million times, the ball is actually flying at the defenseman, and now he's running at the ball, he goes to pick it up, he misses it, his attacker who's behind him picks it up, and now they're going the other way. So I'll line my D guys up.